Hello and welcome again to another day of classes. Today we're going to be continuing with the rest of the unit 3. In the previous class we were discussing about favors, borrowing and lending, stuff. And today we're going to be learning about leaving messages with requests for other people. On the grammar of the previous class, we were seeing the requests with modals, if clauses, and gerunds. But today, what we're going to be working on, it's going to be interesting, okay? Well, let's start with this word power. Hmm. Verb, noun, collocations. Do you know them? You know that there are some verbs that can be with different collocations, with different noun collocations. So, for example, you can return a favor, you can do a favor, you can ask for a favor, but you cannot make a favor. Okay? So let's take our time here to identify which one of these verbs is not usually paired with each one of these nouns. Okay? So you're going to be looking at the verb that doesn't go with these nouns. Okay? So take your time to complete it, and when you finish, we're going to check. Okay, you finished? Let's check. Well, the one, sorry, wait, okay, here. We can owe an apology, we can offer an apology, and we can accept an apology, but we cannot do an apology. We can receive an invitation, we can accept an invitation, you can turn down an invitation, but you cannot offer an invitation. You can receive a gift, you can give a gift, and you can accept a gift, but you cannot do a gift. You can return a phone call, you can make a phone call, you can receive a phone call, but you cannot do a phone call. Okay? Okay, you can accept a request, you can make a request, you can decline a request, but you cannot offer a request. And with the last one, you can receive a compliment, you can return a compliment, and you can give a compliment, but you cannot do a compliment. Okay? So if you have these answers, very good. You are correct. Now let's go and read and let's read and listen and complete this exercise with perspective. Can you tell her? You're gonna listen to requests people make at the school where Mary Martin teaches. You're gonna complete each request with ask or tell. Okay? So let's listen, let's read, and let's complete this. And after we do all of that, we're gonna check. Okay? So let's listen.
Page 19. Exercise 9. Perspectives. Can you tell her? Part A. Listen to the requests people make at the school where Mary Martin teaches. Complete each request with ask or tell. 1,
If you see Mary, can you tell her that she left her phone in my car?
2,
If you see Mary, could you ask her whether or not she is coming to the teachers' meeting?
3,
If you see Ms. Martin, can you ask her if she's graded our tests yet?
4,
If you see Mary, please tell her not to forget the students' reports.
5,
If you see Mary, could you ask her to find me in the cafeteria after her meeting?
6,
If you see Ms. Martin, would you ask her what time I can talk to her about my homework?
Okay, very good. Did you get the answers? Remember that if you need to listen again, just go back in the video. But okay, let's check. Well, the number one is, if you see Mary, can you tell her that she left her phone in my car? Number two, if you see Mary, could you ask her whether or not she is coming to the teacher's meeting? If you see Mrs. Martin, can you ask her if she's graded our tests yet. Number 4, if you see Mary, please tell her not to forget the student's report. Okay. Number 5, if you see Mary, could you ask her to find me in the cafeteria after her meeting? Number 6, if you see Mrs. Martin, would you ask her what time I can talk to her about my homework? Okay, so if you have those answers, very good, you are correct. So let's jump right into the grammar because this perspective is directly, related to this. We were using indirect requests. Okay, so let's see how do we make indirect requests. But as always, I have a material for this. Okay, so let's see. Indirect request. One way for you to be more polite when you make a request is to use indirect strategies rather than direct ones. Of course, between friends, more casual direct requests can be used. Okay, so we have the Jeff's boss, Jeff's assistant, and Jeff's. Okay, could you tell Jeff that there's a staff meeting today? We use indirect request when we want someone to give a message to someone else. So, okay, we have 3 people here. This is us. This is an assistant of this other person. So instead of going directly from Jeff's boss to Jeff, he tells the assistant, and it's this. We use indirect request when we want someone to give a message to someone else, basically. Okay, that is the structure. That is the meaning behind all of the indirect requests. Okay, so there are multiple ways to make indirect requests. Okay, for the statements, we use indirect requests introduced by that. Okay, Jeff, Mike is coming tomorrow to the meeting. So you can say, could you tell Jeff that Mike is coming tomorrow? Jeff, everybody is going to be there. Please tell Jeff that everybody is going to be there. Jeff, the meeting starts at 6 p.m. Could you tell Jeff that the meeting starts at 6 p.m.? It's basically starting with a polite way of and starting statements or questions like could you tell, please tell, can you tell, followed the person, Jeff, that it's Jeff that you're going to be talking to, and that to introduce it. Could you tell Jeff that Mike is coming tomorrow? Please tell Jeff that everybody is going to be there. Can you tell Jeff that the meeting starts at 6? Okay, this is for statements, things that are going to happen. But what about imperatives, orders to another person? Okay, let's see. We use the indirect request using infinitives, okay? When we use the infinitives is when we want to make an indirect request that is an imperative. Jeff, don't bring your projects. Could you tell Jeff or could you ask Jeff not to bring his projects? The infinitive is to bring, but since it's in negative, we need to say not to bring. Jeff, don't forget to print the list. Please ask Jeff not to forget to print the lists. Jeff, close the office at the end of the meeting. Can you ask Jeff to close the office at the end of the meeting? Okay, so basically it's like this. For statements, we introduce it with that. For imperatives, we introduce it with infinitives, negatives or positives. But what about yes no questions then? So we use the indirect request introduced by if or whether, okay? Not to be confused with weather, that it's, when it's cloudy, when it's sunny, snowy, etc. This is weather, not weather. Manuel, are you busy tomorrow? That's a yes no question. Manuel, are you busy tomorrow? Could you ask Manuel if he is busy tomorrow? See? Manuel, do you have the Newsman CD? Please ask Manuel whether or not he has the new CD. Manuel, are you at home right now? Can you ask Manuel if he is at home right now? Can you ask Manuel whether or not he is at home right now? Okay, so basically this can be interchangeable. You can use either or whether or not. Both of them, it's gonna be okay. Could you ask Manuel whether or not he is busy tomorrow? Please ask Manuel if he has the new CD. Okay, both of them are correct. Okay, but then what about the WH questions? Well, we use the indirect request introduced by a questions word. Okay, we're gonna see that. Okay, so we have the WH question. Mary, when does the concert start? And the indirect request is, could you ask Mary when the concert starts? Okay, so you see we have does, and at the end we change the verb to the simple present, like if it's a statement. Mary, when does the concert start? Could you ask Mary when the concert starts? Mary, where does she leave the copies? Please ask Mary where she leaves the copies. Lives. Does? Lives. And look, leave, lives. Because we don't have the does now. Mary, what can I do with the copies? Can you ask Mary what I can do with the copies? In this case, what we change is the order. Can I for I can, because we start with can you ask, please ask, could you ask, and then we change to a sentence. What was the question? Can I do with the copies? What can I do with the copies is a question. And what I can do with the copies is a statement. So we use it like this. Mary, what can I do with the copies? We start with the question, can you ask Mary what I can do with the copies? So we change this order. Mary, what did she do with her computer? Could you ask Mary what she did with her computer? Did she do? She did. Okay, so we change the order. Okay, so basically that's everything for that. It's actually quite easy. So let's see now in the book, because this is going to be way easier now. It's the same. Statements to indirect requests introduced by Dad. Mary, you left your phone in my car. Could you tell Mary that she left her phone in my car? But, by the way, that can be optional. With imperatives. Mary, don't forget the students' reports. Could you tell Mary not to forget the student's report? Okay, we use the infinitive here with just some questions. Mrs. Martin, have you graded our tests? Can you ask her if she's graded our test? If or whether or not. Mary, are you coming to the meeting? Could you ask her whether or not she's coming to the meeting? And remember, we can change this too. Can you ask her whether or not she's graded our tests yet? Could you ask her if she's not if she is coming to the meeting? And that will be okay. And then with the WH questions. Mary, where are you having lunch? Can you ask Mary where she's having lunch? Okay, so this was a question and now it's a statement here. Mrs. Martin, what time can I talk to you about my homework? Would you ask her what time I can talk to her about my homework? Can I talk? I can talk. That is the difference, apart from the polite start of a question. Okay? I hope that you understand this. Okay? But if you did, let's do this activity. You're gonna read the things people want to say to Mary. Rewrite the sentences as indirect requests. Okay? So we have the first one. Mary, did you get my message about your phone? And the indirect is, could you ask Mary if she got my message about her phone? Okay? So take your time to complete this, and after you finish, we're gonna check. Okay, you finished? Let's check. Okay, the number one can be multiple ways. Can, could, would you ask Mary if, whether she got my message about her phone? Okay. Number two, can or could or would you ask Mary if or whether she'll give me a ride to school tomorrow? Number three, can, could, would you ask? It's gonna be the same for all of them. So I'm gonna start from the middle. You ask Mary if or okay. You ask Mrs. Martin when our assignment is due. Would you ask Mary why she didn't meet us at the cafeteria for lunch? Can, could, would. You tell Mrs. Martin that I won't be in class tomorrow night. Would you ask Mary if she's going to the school party on Saturday? Would you ask or tell Mary to please return my call when she gets her phone back? Would you ask Mary if or whether she has received my wedding invitation? If you have any of these multiple options, you are correct. Very good. Now, for the last thing for the day, as always at the end of the units, we have a reading. Okay? Can you tell it like can you tell it like it is? Okay, so let's read this text, this reading right here. Take your time. And after you finish reading, let's complete these two activities, these two exercises. You're gonna read the article and then answer the following questions. Okay? And then what do the underlined words in the article refer to? You're gonna write the correct words. Okay? So take your time to complete these two parts and then we're gonna check. Okay, you finished? Let's check. Why is Carly concerned about her friend? She's spending time with people who Carly thinks are not good for her. What is Matt most worried about? He is worried about putting his grades at risk or getting in trouble. Why is Dana afraid to say no to her friend? She doesn't want to hurt her friend's feelings. Number 4. What is this advice best for? Say what your friend say you know what your friend can handle. Say that you know your friend can handle the work himself. That's for mate. A. Agree to some request, but only if your friend does something in return. That's for Dana. And tell your friend there are more important things than being popular. That's for Carly. If you have those answers, very good. Now, for the last part, what do the underlined words in the article refer to? And you're going to write the correct words. The answers are them, it's for close friends. The matter, it's the fact that the new friends are a bad influence. The whole thing is school and studying. This is the situation of Matt's friend copying his homework. And this, it's favors Dana's friends ask. Okay, well, I hope that you like this class. It's been everything for this day. On the next class, we're gonna be starting with the Unit 4. So I hope that you look forward for it. Okay, well, that's been everything for today. So see you on the next time. Bye.